Hey everyone, it's Abby from Abby Red Creations. Welcome back to my channel. I have the cutest tutorial for you guys today. I'm going to show you guys how to make these adorable little moon phase pendants. These are great. You can attach chains to them to make a necklace or even a little bracelet. The end result is totally up to you. In order to make this design, we will need some type of focal bead that is between 8 millimeters to 12 millimeters. I added some of these to my DIY shop if you're catching this as I release the video. I love these. These are mother of pearl shell, like flat beads, and you can rotate them, and the other side will have like a slightly darker or a different pattern to it. I feel like these really give the whole full moon effect. But if you don't have anything like that, don't worry about it. This design still looks super cute using a larger white bead. I've used these with moonstone or also with natural pearls. Pearls are gorgeous in this design. So these are either 8 millimeter or 12 millimeter beads. Anything in that general size will work with the amount of wire that I'm giving you guys. And remember, you can find a full materials list in the caption on this video. So for today's design, I'm going to say this is more of an intermediate level, more so than a beginner, just because this is a small design and small designs take a bit more control of the wire and they need a bit more guidance with your fingers. I don't know. It's just hard to work the wire whenever you're making small things. So don't let that kind of steer you away from the video if you are just starting your wire wrapping journey, but don't let it discourage you if you don't get this design or you find it too complicated, okay? There are aspects of this design that you can still focus on step by step to improve your wire wrapping skills. So now that I have that little disclaimer out, let's get started with the material list. For the wire, today I am going to be using a silver plated wire because I feel like a lot of you guys are still using plated wires, and if I'm using the same wire as you, it'll kind of help me to guide you guys in how to use your tools better so that you don't risk scraping the wire as much. It still happens to me, don't worry. The wire I'm using is just some leftover craft wire that I have. This is by Beadsmith, and this just says wire, so I don't really know what brand it is. Oh, Beadsmith also. So you will need 20 gauge wire. In the metric system, this is known as 0.8 millimeter wire. This is dead soft. This is a plated copper wire. So you can use this or natural copper. I recommend staying away from stainless steel at all cost, okay? Even if you just have it laying around the house, it will hurt your fingers and your soul. It will drive you crazy. So just set that aside and wait until you get some craft wire from your local store, or maybe you have some copper wire in the garage, who knows. So for this one, it will be the main design. We will need one 10-inch piece of the 20 gauge wire. Make sure it's kind of nice and straight. And then you will also need 28 gauge or 0.3 millimeter wire in the same color or not. That's totally up to you. You'll just need a few pieces of this. It will be used to secure these little swirls at the end of the design, okay? Now, I already mentioned beads, but we will need a few more. So you have your focal bead, like I said, anything between 8 millimeter to 12 millimeter is what I've worked with, is what I can recommend. It can be round, it can be flat. It just needs to have a hole in the middle of it, okay? You will also need some 2 millimeter and 3 millimeter metal beads. These are the beads that you will find at the bottom of the design right here. So you need to make sure that the hole in these is large enough to fit onto your 20 gauge wire. I recommend checking that before so you're not heartbroken at the end of the tutorial. For our tools, we will need our basic tool set. So we have our chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters. Okay. I always recommend flush edge, which means that this is perfectly flat right here and leaves a nice clean finish. If you don't have that, don't worry, it's still you can still do this design perfectly without it. It's just a recommendation to invest in the future. I also recommend, since we're working with plated wire, it's nice to always have some nylon gel pliers because it allows you to hold onto the design without risking scraping off that plated coating, okay? To create our moon shape, we will need some very fancy, expensive tools, like anything lying around the house. This is just an old marker that I have had in my tool drawer forever because I love it. It's the perfect shape to make these tiny moons. To make the outside of the moon, I would recommend finding an object that looks more or less the same size as your bead, okay? Now, you're also going to need a smaller round object because we will need that to make the inside of this little moon right here. I have a pencil and a paintbrush. Paintbrushes are nice because it gives you a variety of different sizes because they're kind of like a concave shape. And let's see. I think that is it, except for we will also need a tape measure. Voila. So go ahead, grab all your tools, grab a cup of coffee, and meet me back and we will get started. So to get started with this moon phase design, we are gonna grab that 10-inch piece of 20 gauge 0.8 millimeter wire and our tape measure. And starting on, I guess, what is the left side, we are just going to measure 4.5 inches in. Okay, so it's just a little bit less than the halfway point of our wire. Okay, doesn't matter if it's perfect. I have a little bit of leeway room in order for us to make this design. So once you have that, just kind of pinch it with your fingers, that way you know where it is. And we are going to take that round object, the one that you're going to use for the outside of the moon, just simply place it on top, okay? And then while it's on top of your wire, I just like to use my left hand here to start pushing it, okay? And I'm gonna keep pushing that left hand all the way around. And one thing you just wanna make sure of is that this wire that you're pushing around, you just want it to pass behind the other side of the wire, okay? So all we're doing right now is just making like a basic round shape that will later become a beautiful crescent moon. So yeah, just keep pushing those wires together until they kind of meet up and you have kind of sort of a round shape. The next step is we are going to grab our chain nose pliers and we are going to pick a point that is about a few millimeters past where those wires meet, okay? So just so you guys can see, I have the pliers on the wire, on the back wire here. This is the shorter wire, the one that we were bending around. And I'm going to firmly grip there. When you're working with chain nose pliers, the more surface of the pliers that is connected to the wire, the more stability that you have. So it may be tempting to just kind of pick this wire with the very edge, but in doing so, we are going to risk the pliers slipping off and we're going to end up scraping our wire. So to get started on this bend, I'm just going to give it a bit more bite with these pliers. And then I'm going to gently, with my left hand, start pushing this wire back, okay? I'll give you guys a full view. All right, I'm just gonna remove my pliers to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. So I am just bending this wire straight back, And it is going to kind of create the illusion of having a point here. So once you've started the bend, you can kind of reposition your pliers. That way you can finish bending this back. And you should have something that looks a bit like this, okay? I just like to give it a final squeeze with my fingers. All right, so this is our first step into creating our crescent moon. Next, we are going to grab our slightly smaller round object. So whenever you're doing this part, you may want to try this ahead of a time if you've never made small crescent moons before, just so you know which size is good. Otherwise, I do recommend starting with the one that is slightly larger, and then we can always scale down from there. So I am starting with what is just a round wooden pencil here, and I'm going to slide this onto the design. Now this is the first part that ends up being a bit tricky. Sorry, I'm just going to bend this out of the way so it doesn't hit my mic. And that is because we will need to hold on to this right here, this teeny tiny bend, in order to complete the inside of the crescent moon. Now, I have thumbnails. These are like an extra tool to me. If you don't, it is still possible to do this by simply holding on very tightly with the flesh of your thumb. This is one of the reasons that I did categorize this as more of an intermediate video, because it does require some tough skin from time to time. So, let's see if I can show you guys a bit better. So I just like to hook my thumbnail in, and this is just going to block this from moving, allowing me to pull the wire around and creating a second round shape. Okay. Now I am just going to take this off so you guys can see a bit more clearly like what I'm talking about. So it created a second round part right here. I know it doesn't look like a crescent moon just yet. Hold on. Stay with me, guys. So what we're going to do next, after you've created this little round bit here, take your chain nose pliers again, and that inside wire, the one that we just wrapped around, that's the one that you're going to hold on to, okay? I hope you guys can see that. And using a turning motion like this is all I'm going to do. I'm going to grab it right there at the very top, and I'm going to hold on to the first one. That is very important. And I am just going to turn. Okay, let me try that again because it kind of slipped away from me. So I'm just going to turn my hand like that, and it will open up the crescent moon. Okay, I'm just going to bend this out of the way to give you guys a clearer view. So as you can see, it opened up our crescent moon, but it did kind of flatten this out at the top. That's all right, because we can also use our pliers to gently grab that little tip right there. And I'm going to turn in the opposite direction. So I'm going to be rotating my hand back towards me. And I am sorry that my fingers are going to cover this a bit. That is the issue with this teeny tiny design. But what I'm going to do is just pinch onto this to kind of keep the work that I have done stable as I twist my wrist back. And it is putting this point of the moon back in a nice little curved position. All right, guys, so take an evaluation right here. If you're already feeling overwhelmed, that is okay. Just practice this over and over again. If you have any questions, if I didn't explain it well, please let me know in the comments and I'll try to make an extra video. I've been sick, so my head's a bit clouded, so I may not be explaining as well as usual. If you're feeling good and you want to continue, then let's go ahead and do this. So to get started with the next step, we are going to be wrapping the wire around and creating this little beaded swirl right here. So grabbing our design where we are right now, we are going to use our pliers to grab hold of that bottom wire, which is the inside of the moon. Okay, just kind of grab onto it as close as you can. And we're simply going to use the left hand to gently kind of straighten that out. Okay, nothing too extreme. It's just we want it to be not so pointed up. And now we're going to do the same thing with this top wire, just to kind of straighten this out just a little bit. All right. This is what it looks like. I didn't straighten it out too much. I just didn't want it to be so curved up. And then next, what I want to do is I want to wrap the shorter wire around. So in order to do that, I'm just going to work my pliers in here and twist it down. Okay. So this is what I have right now. And then I'm going to grab these nylon pliers to hold on to this while I work on wrapping that wire up and around, okay? So I am just gripping really hard with these. I'm putting my finger here. I guess that's going to help stabilize it. And I'm just going to gently push this wire up and around. Okay. And we're going to do that one more time. That way we have 2 wraps around that wire. All right, so the use of the nylon pliers there, it helped to keep the moon in shape so that we didn't twist anything too much while we were manipulating these other ends of the wire, especially this one that we were twisting with. And now I'm just going to turn this down a bit. Oops. Just like that. All right, and we can adjust that later. What we have now is starting to look more like our design because that's where the bead is going to go. So now we're going to go ahead and do this loop right here. And I like to flip the design so I'm looking at it kind of upside down. Like I'm still looking at the front face, but it's upside down, and it helps me do these swirls because I really like to use my thumbnails whenever I'm creating swirls. And I tend to kind of move the design all around using my whole body to help manipulate it. All right, like the teeny tiny one right here. I'm going to pull that wire back up. And we can go ahead and pop our little beads on. It'll be 2 2mm and 1 3mm bead. Right, now my 3mm. So I'm just going to squish that little swirl right there down, because that's the reason that my beads keep crawling up into it, is because that wasn't perfectly closed. Okay. So now to finish, I am just going to do a little loopy swirl like this. So I'm going to press kind of with my index finger and start creating a nice smooth curve there. And then what I like to do, I just kind of pull on to that end of the wire and I twist both ends. And then this will need some touching up, but it's a good start. So this is what I have so far. I'm gonna go ahead and clip off that inside of the swirl here. And now I'm gonna use my round nose pliers to kind of tighten that up. Pinch and gently rotate my wrist. And then I'm gonna push and pull until I get the right little size that I want. And if you're having trouble with this, keep in mind that maybe your wire, if there are any like random hard spots on your wire, or if your wire is just a bit harder, then sometimes it takes more effort to make really smooth swirls. So don't let that get you down, okay? All right. So we can go ahead and pop our focal bead on now. We'll come back at the end to secure this, don't worry. So I'm going to use this awesome mother of pearl shell. And go ahead and just slide that all the way down. And to get started on the other side, we're going to do everything the same but mirrored. So that's always fun. To get started, I just kind of like to create a bend here using my index finger. And I go ahead and kind of just start creating a soft curve. That way my marker has just a nice little place to rest its head in. So grab your handy dandy marker. And I use my thumb to kind of push the wire up against it. And that's kind of stabilizing this too. Here is what I'm feeling right now. And then you can either pull or just keep pushing that wire around. Keep in mind you do want the wire to go behind the design just like we did before, okay? All right, go all the way. And now we're going to grab our T-nose pliers just like before. And we're going to choose a similar spot to start making this crescent moon. Okay, so grab it with your T-nose pliers, firmly but gently holding it, and we're going to start pulling that wire back just like we did on the other side. Okay. So you can give it a little squeeze with your fingers. All right, adjust it if you need to. I'm just going to open mine up a little bit. And then I'm going to go and grab my pencil. And just like before, I personally like to nestle my thumbnail in to kind of hook that on so that this doesn't move. And then with my other hand, I'm just going to start pulling that other wire around the pencil, creating a second round shape. All right, so now we have a teeny tiny crescent moon. And like we did before, we can go ahead and adjust that to make it a bit more symmetrical with the one on the other side. So to do that, you grab that inside wire, that back wire, and you're just going to rotate. I always find it harder. You're just going to rotate down a little bit. There we go. For me, I just have so much more difficulty doing the opposite side of these. And then just keep on. You can also just kind of pull the wire a bit. Just push, pull, twist, and turn until you get something that looks more or less similar to the moon you have on the other side. Okay, like I said before, I'm just taking that point and twisting down to kind of give that a more curved look at the top of the moon. Okay. All right, and it won't be perfect, and that's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap that wire around the base of the moon. So again, we are just going to kind of push this down. Okay. And then I find it's easier to go ahead and grab the nylon pliers, or you can continue punching with your chain nose pliers to try and bend that wire. So I'm just going to bend it up and then wrap it around twice, okay? Right, and I am gripping really hard with my nylon pliers right now, just so you guys know. If you're wondering if you're gripping hard enough or not, you can't really grip too hard with these. It's a good thing. All right. So here we go. Let's go ahead and create this little swirl right here. So again, I would like to work with the pendant kind of upside down like that. All right, and we'll pop those beads on. Oh my gosh, guys, my dog is giving me the biggest puppy eyes right now. I think he really wants to go out. All right, sorry, getting sidetracked. All right, so we have our beads on, and we're just gonna finish this little swirl. I like to start it with my fingers, as you guys know, just kind of get a nice smooth curve going on. And then, yeah, I'm kind of holding it here with my thumbnail. All right, I hope some of this information is helping you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead, those are not wire cutters, grab my wire cutters, and I'm just gonna trim this so it's a bit easier to work with. And this one does not look as nice as the other side, so it is gonna need some more work. So I'm gonna grab my round nose pliers. I'm just gonna push and pull until I get something that resembles a cute swirl. Getting there, but not quite. Yeah, as you guys can see, the wire is not working with me right now. This one is not nearly as elegant, so that happens to everybody. Let's see, that looks a bit better. All right, So there we go. All we need to do is secure these wires. So let's grab that weaving wire, the 28 gauge, and I'm literally just gonna cut off like a 2-inch piece. And to get started on securing it, I have my design once again upside down. And what I like to do when I'm working with weaving wires is I just kind of leave like a little tail for my other hand to hold on to. And wrapping it around this swirl right here, I'm gonna wrap between 1, 2, 3 times, I think. Okay, well the third time I'm going to go inside my little moon. And do that one more time. So now I'm wrapping around both of these wires, okay? And then I'm gonna squish those together with my fingernail. To finish, I'm just gonna wrap about twice around this edge of the crescent moon, okay? And you can give that a little pull with your pliers, same with the other side. And we are going to carefully clip these off. Oops. So we want to clip it off as close to the inside as we can. And we're going to go back in and pinch that down because we do not want sharp edges. And same here. Clip that as close to the base wire as I can. And kind of pinch that in. You can use your nails to squish those wires together, or you can use your pliers. And you'll do the same thing with this other side right here. It's not too complicated. I don't feel like I need to repeat it. Also, feel free to kind of go in and adjust your design as needed. And if you want to use this either as a bracelet or a necklace, you can just add 2 little jump rings right here with a chain. You can make your own beaded loop chain. I will do another smaller video to show you guys some little attachments you can do, but I would just suggest using jump rings and chain, and you can make the cutest little bracelet or necklace with this. All right, guys, that is all for today. Rox is desperate for attention, so we're gonna go outside and play, but he hopes that you had fun creating this, and we will see you guys again soon. Bye.